Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and we're going to talk Batwoman now, and the very shocking news that was recently announced that the lead actress who plays Kate Kane, Ruby Rose, has decided to leave the show. I had to check various articles before making this video because I just wanted to make sure, because you do get a lot of rumours and speculations when covering the entertainment industry, especially in the current climate that we're in now. So I just had to check that the news was true, but apparently it is. The show, of course, had recently aired its season finale with its 20th episode. We knew that the show had its season cut from 22 to 20 episodes due to the COVID-19 outbreak. So it ended with the finale. A bit of spoiler details now, but we had the cliffhanger, of course, with the Bruce Wayne, or the kind of impersonating Bruce Wayne reveal at the end of the show. So after that episode, it was aired and everybody felt we were going to be interested in what happens going forward for the second season. I recently made a video and we all know that the CW had rescheduled its shows to restart production again in January 2021. So everything had seemed fine, no issues, no problems, there was no behind the scenes drama. And then we get this news. So we're just going to delve into some of the reasons now why possibly Ruby has decided to take the decision and leave the show. So we have to go way back, and I know that initially when it was first revealed that Ruby Rose would be casted in the role, there was a lot of controversy because of her LGBT status and the fact that she didn't really have a lot of previous experience. I think she primarily had only acted in Orange is the New Black, the Netflix show, and that was it. There was no other acting experience regarding television or movies. We of course had the opening controversy with all the trailers and the marketing for the show when they had those previous quotes about a woman fitting the suit and her not wanting to take rewards for a man's work. That only fueled the kind of outrage within the internet. And Ruby Rose cited, of course, that she had received a lot of abuse online on Twitter, and she quit Twitter, of course. And then we had the other revelation later on that she incurred injuries during filming and she had the potential to possibly be paralysed. So there was that to factor into play. She made a recovery and she pushed on and pressed on with finishing the show. So I generally feel it was more of a case that it was her decision. I know that sometimes when you get actors leaving or directors quitting a certain project, they pull the professional line of creative differences. That's kind of their professional etiquette to use to kind of put off any potential arguments or personal indifference behind the scenes of the show. But in general, I do think this was her decision, and I've kind of questioned it because if you think about it, Ruby Rose, with all due respect, she hasn't been, or she isn't this kind of highly prolific actor who has got these hundreds of scripts that she can pick and choose from. The role as Batwoman is the biggest gig that she's got, okay? And the one advantage of being involved within the CW shows is that they are constantly running, they are constantly being aired, right? Because normally when a show, if it doesn't do great ratings or doesn't perform very well, it normally gets cancelled, okay? So it's very difficult for actors to find work. Well, the CW verse doesn't necessarily work like that. They don't really care as much as ratings. They care more, if you like, about the kind of potential merchandising that the shows can bring about, and they have a huge connectivity, as we all realise throughout the whole shows, whether it's Supergirl, Flash, Batwoman, Black Lightning, Legends of Tomorrow. They're this hugely interconnected universe. We've had the recent addition of Stargirl, of course. I'm sure that will connect in the future. So from an actor's perspective, this is a job that you've got, you know, for the long run. Okay, these are shows that generally go on for multiple seasons throughout on here. So primarily, unless there's other things going on behind the scenes, this is a kind of role you want to keep until something better comes along. So that's probably the other possibility a lot of people debated. Did she have another job? Has she had another project further down the line that was just too good to turn down? Now, that is a possibility, and we won't find that out till later on. I'm not particularly sure about it either, because currently, as we all know, the movie industry and the entertainment industry has really come to a standstill. We won't be getting any shows or projects really released now till next year. So if Ruby had managed to find another big project to join, we would have heard about it. There would have been rumours circulation around. It's very difficult now to keep this news behind closed doors because of the internet, etc. So we would have heard about it if she managed to get another big high profile job. So I'm not sure that's what it is. I think it was just a case of, I think the social media, perhaps the pressure got to her and she couldn't deal with it anymore. Maybe she wasn't happy with the direction of the show. Again, this is all speculation. We won't really know until more details come out in the future. So that's why we have to kind of reserve judgment a bit on here. A lot of people I've seen have referred to the accident that she did incur. Maybe that's kind of scared her. Maybe she's a bit worried that she may get an injury again going forward for any season 2 or season 3. As we know, if you watch the show, it is a lot of fighting and kind of jumping off buildings and etc. So Ruby is involved in that a lot. So maybe she was a bit concerned about those injuries and she didn't want to go through that experience again. So there are multiple reasons, but I do believe that it was a decision that Ruby decided to make. So we have to decide now what's going to happen with the show going forward. How are they going to cope, if you like, with having to recast for the second season? Now, there's a couple of ways you could look at this. So initially with a show, it's a lot more difficult, I think, to recast if your actor has become really established within the role and they've been there for multiple seasons. It's a lot more difficult to do. So, prime example, if we look at Melissa Benoist in Supergirl, and that was recently announced that she is pregnant. Okay, so obviously that would put her out of the show for a long time. So they had a lot of thinking to do about how they were going to go forward with the 6th season, primarily before production had shut down, right? But it would be a lot more difficult to recast Melissa because 5 seasons in now, she has firmly established herself as the role of Kara Danvers. So all the fans, all the audiences, whether you're a supporter or not of Supergirl, you identify Melissa in the role as Supergirl, right? Same as with Grant Gustin as the Flash, and same with Stephen Amell as Arrow. But we've only hit season 1, okay? So even though it's still a big job, because yes, we do associate Ruby Rose in the role, and due to obviously the kind of notoriety with her casting, so yeah, she does have a big association with the show. But it is only season 1, okay? So it is more possible or less damaging for them if they want to recast now. It's always best, if you're going to recast a role, you do it after the first season, before the actor has a chance to really build a tight, big connection with the viewers. Okay, now there's another perspective of this, because people could throw this the other way and say that, well, season 1, let's look at the Flash for example. Now, could you possibly recast Grant Gustin after season 1 of the Flash, right? Or could you have recast Tom Welling after season 1 of Smallville, right? Now, it would have been more difficult in that perspective because Grant Gustin had really built a big connection with the fans. He was brilliant as the Flash from episode 1. Fans are like really warm to him and his performance as the Flash. So it would have been extremely difficult for them to recast him as the role for season 2 because he did such a great job. Now, with all due respect to Ruby Rose, her performance, while not the worst, she's not horrible. Watching the show, I've never felt, well, Ruby Rose's performance is so terrible I can't even watch the show anymore. But it's a very middling performance. Okay, I know many people acknowledge the fact that the actress who plays Alice, Rachel Skarsten, is the best performer on the show, and yep, that's probably true. But then she's had the most kind of dramatic storylines to extend her range. But at the same time, if you watch the show, Ruby Rose has had dramatic developments as Batwoman. So if we go to a bit of spoiler territory now, we've recently gone through the events where Kate Kane rather, had to kill someone or killed someone, so she had to go through the torment of that. She's recently discovered, of course, now that her Jacob is kind of hell-bent on killing Batwoman. We had that scene in the season finale when he took shots at her directly at the football stadium. So she's going through the kind of process of having her dad wanting to kill her, even though she can't reveal her true identity to him. And then, of course, throughout the whole season, she's been dealing with the fact that the big criminal within Gotham, Alice, is actually her sister. So Ruby Rose has had enough material to exhibit a range of performance within her acting, and she just hasn't done that enough throughout the season. She just hasn't. It's not a horrible performance, but it's a very kind of indifferent performance. There have been multiple times when I don't think Ruby Rose has managed to transmit enough weight or imposing nature within her performance. Okay, so when we look to recast her now, I don't think it's going to be as damaging recasting somebody for the second season as opposed to, if you look at The Flash, if you had to recast Grant Gustin in the second season as The Flash, because Grant Gustin made a much more of a bigger impression, I believe, than what Ruby did in terms of Batwoman. Now, of course, this all is academic. If you cast an actress who is not an improvement or was even worse than what Ruby Rose, and I'm trying to be fair here, like I said, but if you cast an actress who is weaker than Ruby Rose, then it's going to affect the show in the long run. So you have to make sure now that you've got someone who can exhibit a much more of an imposing performance. And Ruby Rose, let's be clear, she wasn't the only issue with Batman. I don't even think she was the biggest issue with Batwoman. I think it's a lot more to do with the writing and how they've handled certain characters and certain elements within the Batman mythos. And I'm going to talk about that more in the season review because I want to focus primarily on this article here. But I don't think Ruby Rose was the biggest problem. But I think what they have to make sure is that they do hire a stronger actress within the role. Now, I want to take particular issue with the statement that was recently made by Greg Berlanti, the producer of the show, where basically he thanked Ruby for her contribution, but he said they were determined to make sure that they cast an actress who is part of the LGBT community. Now, let's be clear, I've got no issue with anybody who is part of the LGBT community. I don't really care, to be honest. I judge someone on their own personalities, regardless of what their orientation is. But my issue is, why does it have to be someone of the LGBT community? What you should be doing is looking for someone who is primarily a good actress. That should be the first and foremost priority that you're setting yourself in it. It doesn't matter what their orientation is. And they should have realised this, having gone through the whole kind of outrage from the marketing, from the trailers, to the general criticism within that marketing. They should now have come to that realisation that, you shouldn't be playing off these agendas and playing off people's orientation. You should be able to just cast people on their own merit and on their own credentials. We could go into all the debate about other big franchises, Star Trek, Star Wars, etc., Doctor Who, and how those franchises have encountered issues in terms of casting people and having a much more of an agenda initiative. You should always work more on who is a good actress, who is a talented actress, right? And of course, yes, but having to look to someone who has very much of a similar build, of a similar look to Ruby. It wouldn't really help if you've got someone who, I don't know, is say 5'9", 5'10". It would be, I think, too distracting for the viewers. But yeah, you get someone who has that similar aesthetic, similar look to Ruby, and then if she does well over the course of future seasons, you can then develop Ruby's look in the forefront. But those should be the main priorities. It shouldn't matter about what their orientation is, and they should really just look forward to trying to cast a better actress for the season 2. Okay, so the advantage they have here that they do have time, because as I said, these shows aren't coming back to January 2021, so they've got a lot of time now to prepare and make sure they get the right actress for the role, and also make sure that the actress has enough time to develop a good chemistry and bond with the other cast members of the show, and they can plan forward how things will progress for the new actress going forward for season 2, because they won't cancel the show. They've already announced season 2, and they've already announced plans, as we know, to cross over with the Superman and Lois show, and I'm pretty sure they would have future plans for the Batwoman character to cross over again with Supergirl or Legends of Tomorrow. So I don't believe they're going to cancel the show. I think they will continue, and like I said, it's a bit easier because we're only in season 1. It would have been a lot harder where we were in season 4, season 5. Okay, as I mentioned before, it would be a much more almost impossible job for them to recast Grant Gustin now, or to recast Melissa Benoist now, or to recast Katie Loyce, who plays Sarah Lance now. It'd just be practically impossible. So they still have a chance on here. So I'm not gonna come on here and say Batwoman is doomed, it's over. I'm not gonna sit here and kind of in celebration mode, because I think there's potential for Batwoman. You know, it does have its issues, its problems. I will relay those more in my season review, but there is potential here. I just think they need to work more in terms of the overall mythology and how they interpret the Batman elements, and they need better kind of antagonists for the show. So Ruby Rose is not only the primarily problem of the show, so I do think they will be able to continue with season 2 as long as they cast an actress who is talented first and foremost, regardless of orientation. She is talented, she's a skilled actress, and she's able to kind of make an improved performance within the lead role as opposed to what Ruby Rose was. So those are my overall thoughts. I will kind of maybe provide a supplementary video after this. This is just my first initial instinctive reaction because the news has just broken out recently. But let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you think this will affect the show for season 2? What do you think on Ruby's decision to leave the show? Do you think it was the right decision? Do you think it was the wrong decision? What do you think the reasons could be? Whether she's got future projects down the line? Was it due to the social kind of outrage and criticism over the social media? Do you think it was down to the injuries that she incurred, or do you think she just wanted to take her career in a different direction? But let me know what you think in the comments below. I will make more reference to this in the season review, but those are my thoughts for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.